Oh, hello. Today we're going to be doing a faction deep dive for the Vet Guard. Now, I know what you might be wondering. Why are we doing a faction deep dive for the Vet Guard who came out in 2021, and here we are in 2023, or 2 years late? Well, this channel started around the time Chanath came out, and I've now steadily made progress doing deep dives, sometimes called overviews, sometimes called first looks, but I've reviewed every bespoke team apart from the Vet Guard and the Commandos. So, we, you know, it's hard sometimes to continually find something new and novel to talk about in terms of kill team, and for the sake of completeness, I wanted to get Vet Guard and Commandos done. But I've been very nervous to do it because Vet Guard are very much a solved problem now, right? The Vet Guard veterans know how to play Vet Guard, and they don't need me to explain it to them. Especially as I've never played Vet Guard, and I've not really got a whole lot of experience playing against them. I tend to dodge them at tournaments, and it's not a team that I've ever played. It's not something that Mrs. Ti or Zimbad have ever played either, and it's not a team that anybody that I play with occasionally in Liverpool plays, so it's just not a team that I have really got much exposure with. And partially why I made this is to make sure, to cement in my brain, by making the video, making the materials, exactly what the Vet Guard are all about. But before we get on with the with the deep dive, I just wanted to pause for a minute and ask you to subscribe to the channel. No, pause for a minute and note how nice it is that the first ever bespoke team, like the first bespoke teams from that first box, they're still relevant to the overall meta. Like, they're still, if not like top most utterly broken tier, they're still a really good, really well feared, well regarded team. So that's a really positive thing for the game in general, isn't it? And a really positive thing for the game balance. Right, let's get straight into the Vet Guard kill team now. So, Vet Guard, and I know that most people know this stuff, right? But we're going to go through it anyway. This might be somebody's first look into Vet Guard. So, the Vet Guard have security. Now, this used to be fine, brilliant, wonderful, because if you had security, you'd take it. In this new post-Critical Ops card pack age, I don't know if security is definitely the best deck. Like, they're a lot closer. I feel like Recon might be a slightly easier deck now, but certainly security is up there still, right? 10 operatives, but as we all know, it's really 14. If you don't know why that is, I'll explain it to you on the next slide. Don't worry. You have to have a sergeant veteran. He can either have a bolt gun or a bolt pistol, las pistol, a plasma pistol, and a chainsaw or power weapon. So you're just taking the plasma pistol and the power weapon because this was, as I said, the first bespoke team before they really hit on the idea of going, let's make people choose between the plasma pistol and the power weapon. Just take the best weapons and get on with your life, okay? There's a very, very, very tenuous argument that says you might want to take the bolter, which we'll get into later on, but take the plasma pistol. And then 9 guardsmen from this list. You're not taking the basic trooper, or at least not from this list. The confidant veteran with a bolt gun or a bolt pistol and chainsword. I would suggest if you're taking with the bolt gun. You probably do want to take the confidant veteran. We'll explain why in a minute. The zealot veteran, we're probably not going to take him. He's not bad, but there are choices to make. Medic veteran, yeah, we'll take a medic. Comms, yeah, we'll take a comms. Demo, yes, we'll take a demo. Bruiser, probably not. Maybe in the dark. Hardened, probably not. Maybe into the dark. Sniper, yes, we'll take a sniper. Spotter, yes, we'll take a spotter. Then gunner, notice you can take all 4. So we've got grenade launcher, melter gun, plasma gun, and flamer. You're going to take plasma gun in every game. I think you're going to take grenade launcher and melter gun in every game, most likely, right? So let's get in. You do need to make meaningful choices. I feel like certainly open world, even I can see what is probably the solve pick. I mean, there are certain things like against Harlequins. Is that going to affect your thinking? Do you really need to take a spotter, I guess, against Harlequins? I don't know. Because you've got to be close up to them. But generally speaking, it's pretty much a solved thing. Let's get into the ancillary support. So this is why you basically have an option of either taking 4 troopers or the tactical assets. So it was really interesting to me as someone who's currently playing. So I'm currently maining Star Striders. It really interesting to me to go back and actually read the Vetguard ancillary support, because people at the moment, for those of you that don't know, Star Striders have an equivalent kind of thing to the ancillary support. With Star Striders, they only have 3 things to choose from, apart from rather than 4. But with the Star Striders, you have all 3 things. You can fire each one twice per game, and you can choose, looking at the table, which one you want to fire. With Vetguard, it's very different. So you have to pick 2 in advance of the game and write them down on your sheet. Okay, and you can only use each one once. So whereas Rogue Traders get to fire 4 assets over the course of a 4-turn game, Vetguard only get to fire 2, and they can swap them out for 4. So simultaneously, their ancillary support options are worse than the Rogue Traders ones, and they have the amazing option of swapping them out for 4 troopers, which isn't great. So let's look at them. So you've got the artillery barrage, which is performed now again, unlike the Rogue Trader, this isn't. Oh no, it is exactly that. It's when you would activate a ready friendly operative, you can do a tactical asset instead, and you do that instead, right? So you're shooting as if from a one of your veteran guardsmen, but you're using one of these assets as its own turn. So you got the artillery barrage, 6 dice, hitting off 5s, 2-3, barrage blast indirect. Why you would pick this is thoroughly beyond me. 6 dice hitting off 5s, 2-3, barrage blast indirect versus 5. I mean, yeah, okay, you've got indirect. I but just hitting off, you're just not going to hit anything. You're just going to throw your dice, barely hit anything, and do like 2 damage. Like, woohoo. Right, much rather take the airstrike. Yes, 5 dice, but it's 3-4 damage. And again, barrage blast. Same deal here. Okay. The guided missile, which is unquestionably the best one, is 4 dice, 3 up, 4-6 AP1. That's actually it's not as good as the laser cannon that the Rogue Traders have, that they get fire 2 shots of and is AP2. But it's pretty good. It's hitting on 3s, which is great. 4-6 is pretty good. 4 dice, pretty good. And then strafing run is weird. Select 1 enemy operative in a friendly veteran guardsman operative's line of sight to be the mark, then place a strafing run token anywhere in the kill zone. If you have a kill zone edge, it cannot be placed closer to your edge than the mark is. Draw an imaginary line 1mm wide with unlimited height above and below between any part of the base of the mark and the centre of the strafing run token. Using the ranged weapon below, make shooting attack against the mark and each other operative that has a base crossed by this line. For those shooting attacks, when determining if another operative is a valid target and is in cover, draw visibility and cover lines from the mark, and if they're in the cover provided by light terrain or another operative, they are treated as having engaged order for that attack instead. I mean, potentially, I actually quite like that, because it's flavourful as heck, because it's the lightning strike fighter kind of coming along, or the what's the other one, the Avenger, like that's cool, and potentially you're going to hit loads of guys with it, which is really cool. If you only had 1 box of Vetguard and you're starting out, so you don't have access to the 4 extra trooper models, and you're wanting to take artillery support, I might take strafing run and explain it to my opponent, just to constantly get to watch the cogs turning in their brains and make sure they're not leaving their guys in too much of a line. And then you take the guided missile, right? I think maybe you wouldn't even use the strafing run, but you'd be like, oh, I've got this strafing run. Although maybe you might prefer marked airstrike and guided missile instead. I don't know. Artillery barrage seems totally pointless. But again, talking about these things, if you've got 2 boxes, take 4 trooper veteran operatives. I don't understand. Yeah. And then they got some FAQs. So So this one is doing novitiates basically. If you target something and then it's no longer a valid target, you can still cancel your asset and use it again, which is good. So that's for blinding light, right? Basically, and then this one, which came out really recently, just means that you gain the benefit of being on a vantage point, which wasn't clear, and because people were actually using the ancillary support options in the Rogue Trader team, then this came back, even though this team's been out for ages, and they went, oh yeah, here's an FAQ for that. So, and then this is a narrative thing. So in narrative, if you take your trooper veterans, they can gain experience like everybody else. Orders. So the orders, they have another mechanic. So apart from ancillary support, they have another mechanic. They have the orders mechanic. Once in each strategy phase, when it's your turn to use strategic ploy, if the operative's in the kill zone, it can use a guardsman order. If it does, all friendly guardsmen within red and visible are issued the guardsman order. Each time a friendly operative issues a guardsman order, select one guardsman order below until the end of the turning point. So these are free as long as your leader's alive. Your comms has got a way of broadcasting them around your whole team. These are like far better than your strategic ploys, and they're basically strategic ploys. So you can have move, add black to movement characteristic of each friendly operative that issued the order. And bear in mind, again, if you do it properly, that can be your whole team, so that's great. Take aim. Each time a friendly operative issues this order makes shooting attack, their all attack dice step of the shooting attack. You can reroll any and all attack dice of ones. The order has no effect on shooting attacks made with the mortar barrage or remote mine weapons or tactical assets, but otherwise that's again really good. You're going to do that one most of the time. Hold position. Each time a shooting attack is made against a friendly operative, issue the order. In the roll defense dice step of the shooting attack. If you are in cover, you can re-roll any and all of your defense dice scores of 1. That's pretty good. But if you have that order, you can't dash. Excuse me. You can't dash or charge. Fine. And then fixed bayonets is a combat order. Realistically, I should read it. You can reroll any or all the attack dice rolls of 1 in combat, but fine. But realistically, these first two are really good. And take aim is by far the best. You can issue more than one order using a ploy, and they have to be 2 different orders. Just make you aware. So let's get through the data sheets. So we're going to start off with the trooper data sheets. You're going to take 4 of these if you're running the team optimally instead of your tactical assets. They are the most bog standard humans that have ever bog standard out of bog standard land. The only real notable thing about them is GA2, which is both good and bad depending on what you kind of want out of your team. If they were GA1, it'd be bonkers because you'd have 14 activations. As it is, you have 12 activations, which I think I'm right in saying is the cap in Kill Team. No team has more than 12 activations, probably. But I quite like having chaff units because if you're playing against an elite team, you've got stuff you can be doing to run down their activations before you move any of your good things out from behind a big wall where they're hiding, right? You can just move your lasgun fellas, run up onto an objective, especially if you're like, what one tactic I like is you just run him onto an objective and then, capture the objective and then he's stood in the open and then even if he dies, like, well, you've lost the lasgun guy, but now your opponent's going to have to send somebody forward into the open if they want to do something about that objective. Like, it puts the pressure on. Give one of these a grenade. Back in the day, before the grenade nerf, of course, people used to give them all grenades, like, 3 of them would have crack grenades, like, woohoo. But, yeah. You can't go wrong with more bodies. It just waste up your opponent's activations, do objective-y stuff. Good times. 5 up, save, and 7 wounds, though. They are going to die if you sneeze on them. So then you got your sergeant, and again, it's just everything here is so, like, this was all novel and new, and doing this retrospective review on it, it's like everything is like, this is the archetypical, right? So your sergeant does the sergeant things. He gets +1 to his weapon skill, ballistic skill. So he's hitting all 3s. Ignore the fact it says 4 here. That was a typo. Been erased to 3. Hits all 3s, and he's got an extra wound. He's got 8 wounds. Again, you take the plasma pistol and the power weapon. Arguably, maybe you want to take the bolter. The only reason I would say that is you want to keep this guy alive, potentially, for your veteran orders. Right, once he dies, you can't do any more orders. I mean, unless you've got the confidant, which you're probably going to have. And we're going to get into all that in a minute. It's a little bit of a muddle, which I'm sure is one of those things where I think it's a bit of a muddle. People who've been playing this team for like 2 years probably know this is what you do. Like, no, you give him the plasma gun and it plays past pistol, and if he dies, you don't care about orders or whatever. But probably you're giving him the plasma pistol. The plasma pistol's just that good. Like, they're just that much of a no-brainer. But there's an argument for keeping him with a bolter and keeping him safe. But yeah, just for those orders. But apart from that, very straightforward piece. We're going to put the sniper. I'm going to say archetypical sniper. Actually, he's got a little wrinkle that a lot of snipers don't have. This sniper rule, and I'm not saying people I've played against have cheated at this, but until I made this video, I was not aware that the long las was not silent. Like, it has this rule here where as long as you don't move, charge, or fall back, then you count as silent, but you're not actually silent. So if the long las has moved into position that turn, then you can shoot him in the face. Like, there are definitely times where my opponent hasn't cheated, but I've obviously made an assumption, and your opponent's not going to rush to correct your faulty assumption. So yeah. Obviously, now this is the thing. When I face Vanguard, a lot of the time I end up facing them on Chalnath boards, where you'll tend to have like a windowed piece of heavy terrain bordering your deployment zone, and then they're basically untouchable because they're behind heavy terrain. They shoot through the window. Good luck, right, getting them out of there with their silent sniper rifle. In Octarius tables, they've got more of a kind of, are they going to leave them behind some light terrain, wherein you can try and get advantage on them, right? Or are they kind of, if they deploy behind the heavy terrain is like an opaque wall, so there's nowhere to put them easily to sort of sniper's nest with them. Which means you do have to be a little careful if you're moving him into position, then he's still going to be shot that turn. If he shoots, of course, you can move him into position, keep him on conceal, and just only have 3 shots that game. That's an option. I've heard from clever maths people, by the way, that the sniper rifle, this particular sniper rifle, the long las, is basically as good as a plasma gun. Because it's 3-3, but it's mortal wounds 3, so it doesn't have piercing, but again, they're mortal wounds. And it's 4 dice hitting on 2s, so it's a bloody powerful weapon. Right? It's a bloody powerful weapon. It's a bit swingy because you've got to get those crits through, but it's a powerful weapon. Gunners, so talking about plasma guns, in case you are completely new to Kill Team, plasma guns are very powerful. You should always take your plasma gun. 5.6 is ridiculous. 4 dice hitting on 4s, AP2, hot, fine, good. Melter guns, pretty good. Take a melter gun. Grenade launcher with crack grenades, yes, please. Take that. The only one maybe not taken in most games is the flamer. It boggles my mind. They can take a melter gun and a plasma gun and a grenade launcher and a sniper rifle. They've got all these guns, and because they've got so many guns, you don't even have to be particularly daft with the melter. If you want to hang the melter gun back, because most teams are going to try and come to you, right? They're going to try to come to you to kill your bloody sniper and your spotter and all these other things that are just sitting in your back line going, and projecting fiendish amounts of damage while being concealed. So they're going to try and come to you, and then you can punish that with a melter gun, right? Because if somebody comes to within near your lines, you've got a melter gun stood there, you go, okay, and then that model's dead. So maybe do it that way. Maybe you take the flamer in the dark, right? There's a lot of, I'm going to say that a couple of times today, like maybe you take this on open boards, you would never take a flamer, you take the other 3 though, every time. The confidant, so I went back and forth on this. I feel sure the purpose of this model, let's just look at him here. He has a lot of options. You can have a bolt gun or a bolt pistol, or a las pistol, or a las gun, or a bayonet, or a chainsword. He has 2 rules, okay? So second in command, if a friendly sergeant veteran operative is incapacitated and removed from the kill zone, you can nominate this operative for command. If you do, until the end of the battle, he gains the leader keyword and the guardsman orders ability. So if your leader dies and your confidant is alive, you can continue to do guardsman orders. So one way of thinking, maybe you give him a bolter, you stand him at the back, and you bolt pistol, you bolter at things occasionally, and then lets you be reckless with your sergeant to run him forward to try and get a kill on like a space marine with his plasma pistol, and then he dies, and you go, oh well, my orders go back to my confidant, fine, right? Maybe that's what you do with him. I don't know. We'll get into why that might not be the case in a minute, in a couple of slides' time. He also has this ability called Directive. Now, he loses this if he's ever nominated for command, right? So if he's become your kind of stand-in sergeant, he's lost his Directive ability. The directive ability lets him to select one ready friendly vet guard within red and visible to him, and after his activation ends, you can activate this other operative and treat that as a GA1 operative. So this just means you can shoot someone with your bolter, right? And then you can direct another guy, like a lasgun guy, to also shoot him and maybe kill somebody that way to finish something off. I'm sure there's some kind of ridiculous shenanigans that I've not seen with that directive ability that is known to the old guard or the veterans. The old guard veteran player. Yes. The people who have been playing this team for a long time. Those guys. I'm sure there's maybe a trick with directive. It feels like there might be something a particular interaction there. But just other than that, it gives him something extra to do, potentially, while he's hanging out waiting to get promoted. Ignore this, it's a typo. Yeah. And this is other, and you can't directive into a tactical asset. Demolition Fella, again, he's just the archetypical Demolition Fella. He's arguably the best, like original and best Demolition Fella, because he can actually plant his mine and then do a free dash and then detonate. So if he starts his turn and there's a bad guy near him, he can stick a mine on the ground, dash away and explode the mine. Like, that's pretty good. I think because Vetguard have security, especially before the TAC Ops pack, when everybody who could was taking security, and so quite a lot of the time you'd have central control, and things would descend into a big mosh pit around central control. Bringing up your demo guy, sticking your mine down in the centre there was a great way to try and assert yourself, try and kind of keep your bubble, keep your space. Worth taking because, look, it's a 5/6. I mean, I know you're not hurting for damage because you've got plasma gun, melter gun, grenade launcher, plasma pistol, sniper rifle, but it's just another big damage. Like, Vetguard have so many big, like, that's 5/6 on the remote mine, right? It's 6/3 on the melter. It's 5/6 on the plasma gun, right? It's effectively 3/6 on the long las. Like, they just have so many 6/6/6/6/6s. It's amazing. Like, you take it for the damage. Why not? Zealot. The Zealot, I really think is a cool little characterful piece. He's got his Imperial Infantry Primer, which is a great little touch, and his little rosary that he's going on. And he gives out Lethal 5-up, which... Lethal 5-up is a great rule. Like, it's just a tough one to include, because it's... You've got to choose your 9 miniatures, and you've got so many pieces that I've just talked about that give off superb damage, and then other pieces that are just necessary support pieces in various ways. So I just find it hard to consider when you'd ever include the Zealot in any game for any reason, like against any opponent. I struggle with it. If you can think of a reason why you'd include the Zealot, let me know in the comments down below. I struggle with that one, but he's cool. I really like the miniature and the idea, and in fact he's like a bit religious. That's cool. That's good. The medic, it's a medic, it does medic things. It really is just a medic from Central Casting. It had to have the medic clarification that he couldn't revive himself, which they had to do for all the medics in the first season. Sure, he does medic things. Medics are great. I mean, it's an extra life for your plasma gunner, or your sniper, or your sergeant, I guess. But, you know, all those great damage characters we were talking about, well, with the medic, then they're just even harder to remove. Medics are great. Take the medic. Right, the comms fellow. Now, he's not just your archetypical comms fellow. He does have signal, which is the standard when within red, he can pass one of his APL onto another guy. What's more interesting is he has relay orders. So relay orders, once in each turning point, when this operative is issued a guardsman order, it can relay it. If an order is relayed, subtract one from the operative's APL, and all friendly vet guard operatives in the kill zone are issued that order. Now, issues. In order for him to receive the order so it can be relayed, he has to be within red of your current leader. Okay? So how's this going to go? Well, turn 1, fine. Your leader can be near your comms guy. You issue an order to everybody. Everybody's got an order. It's all good. Then, what's happening? Is your sergeant going up the field to try and get a shot with his plasma pistol? If that's happening, is your comms guy trying to trail after him and therefore not getting the signal, the AP to signal something? Or are you keeping your plasma pistol sergeant back as a counterpunch piece so you can continue issuing orders. And if you're doing that anyway, is it worth taking the Confidant? Because, yes, your Sergeant's got a plasma pistol, but you're not really going to use it until turn 3 when somebody gets in your grill. Because you need to keep him loitering back with the comms, who hasn't got any spare APL to move, because he's constantly relaying orders and sending out his signal to another guy. So maybe you don't take the Confidant, but then what do you take in its place? I'm sure experienced players have squared this circle about how you use your Sergeant, your Confidant, and your comms to the best possible utility to keep your orders flowing around your team. But it is an interesting little technical wrinkle, but I'm sure it's a solved problem. But it's not one that I could solve quickly just by reading through the rules. Interesting. We've got the Bruiser. So he's a 7 wounds, 5 up save melee character, which is exciting. Once per turning point, though, when he fights in combat and the results hit step of the combat, you can ignore the damage from one normal hit, which should help, right? Keep him alive, so he can at least get a hit or two. He got stunned, so I guess you're charging in, you're hoping for the stun, you're going to resolve 2 hits and hope that, yeah, I can kind of see it. He's okay, isn't he? But I think certainly on open boards, you're not going to take him. Maybe he shows up in the dark where combat's a lot more necessary. I don't know. But yeah, and then following on from the Bruiser, you've got the Hardened, which is another guy who's trying to do so. So he's got a rule to try and keep him alive a little bit. And this time he's got a 5 up, feel no pain. I feel like actually they're both going to try and keep them alive a little bit longer in combat. Bruiser probably a bit more consistent than Hardened by War, but instead of a 3-3 stun, the Hardened veteran has a 4-5. Perhaps he also sees playing into the dark. If you only take one, which would I take? Maybe it's the Bruiser. Again, I'm sure this has been mathed out by the maths boys, and it is a solved problem. But yeah, I can't see on open boards that you're taking either of them, though, really. And finally, the Spotter, the legendary Spotter. The Spotter is like the secret sauce of the Vet Guard team. Like, the Vet Guard works on 2 levels, I feel like. If you're playing at a weekly club, or in your garage, or against your mates every now and again, what makes the Vet Guard good is just that you can take plasma gun, sniper rifle, melter gun, grenade launcher, plasma pistol, which is more high strength weapons than any other team, right? But if you're playing against somebody who's kind of top shelf, who really understands like how to use obscuring to protect themselves, who can really see your threat and understands how to keep themselves safe, it's the Spotter that unpicks. It's the Spotter that undoes the skilled player, right? Because what the Spotter does is he goes, okay, 2 AP, that guy on a conceal, yeah, we're going to treat him like he's on engage. I mean, only one of your models, to be clear, but still, that's a really good ability. It's the ability that every other kind of bird or specs just wishes it was, right? Like, just give us the Vet Guard Spotter ability for our other various Auspex type models. Like, it is the best in its class of those kinds of abilities. And if that wasn't good enough, if you don't want to do that for a turn because it hasn't come up, you can call down a infinite range, reusable silent blast mortar barrage. And it's not that strong, okay, but it might kill something. It might kill a 7 wound model. It might kill a couple of them if they're clustered. It's going to make your opponent, especially playing against another human team, it's going to make them not want to cluster their models nearly so much. So, yeah. And you could always, if you had a comms with not better to do, you could always send him +1 APL so he could do a mortar barrage and a Spotter action. There's no rule against that. So the Spotter's the real MVP there. Yeah. So we're on to the ploys. I think the Vet Guard strat ploys are rubbish. Overcharge lasguns until the end of the turning point. Change the profile of lasguns that veteran guardsmen operatives are equipped with the following. So 4 dice hitting on 4s, 2, 3. 4 dice, or you can overcharge like a plasma gun. 4 dice hitting on 4s, 2, 3, AP1 and hot. So is that just literally, Yeah, so you have the option to overcharge to give yourself AP1 and hot if you spend a command point. It's still not going to kill anything, is it? I mean, it makes it a bit better, but it's... yeah, it's fine. It's there. I kind of regard it as a desperation move. If your opponent's killed all your powerful pieces and you're left with a collection of support pieces and troopers with lasguns and you really want to just try and do something, then maybe you could turn it on and just use it. But it's not something you're trying to use every turn to achieve anything. It's not plan A. Maybe it's plan C. Is, oh, well, let's try overcharge lasguns, right? Take cover, 1 CP. Each time a shooting attack is made against friendly veteran guardsman, if it's in cover, improve its save by 1. I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. Like, that's pretty good. Definitely has its places if you're playing against another shooty list, right? Because you've only got that 5 up save. 5 up to 4 up on saves is a big deal. 1 CP. If most of your team's in cover, as it probably will be, then yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Into the Breach definitely has play turn 1, especially if terrain is awkward. Like if your drop zone is not quite safe, but you can get everybody with the dash, you can position everybody better. Yeah, 1 CP to dash everybody is pretty good. Actually, it's pretty good. You probably use that quite a lot, I would imagine. And clear the line is a combat buff for Vet Guard, so you can retain a successful all hit without saving it, without rolling it in combat, and you've got to know ahead of time that you are going to be in combat that turn. What's the point? What is the point? Your real things are over here. The tactical ploys are where you want to spend your CP on. Inspirational Leadership, 1 CP. Use it during a leader operative's activation, so that can be either your sergeant or, if he's been promoted, your confidant gains the leader keyword. And you can spend 1 CP to do a second order. Would let you do the reroll ones order and the movement order. That's what you wanted to do. Pretty strong, I would say. Pretty strong. In-Death Atonement. Use this tactical blow friendly veteran guardsman operative is incapacitated. The operative is not removed from the kill zone until the end of your next activation or the end of the battle. It was FAQ'd. That could win you games. Keep a CP in your back pocket because that could potentially win you a game, right? If it's a contesting, holding points type of a deal, that could, in theory, win you a game, right? So always worth having. And then Combined Arms, use the tactical ploy after rolling your attack dice for shooting attack maybe a friendly Vet Guard operative. Its targeted attack of that operative was targeted by another friendly Vet Guard with a shooting attack during this turn. You can re-roll any or all of your attack dice with the shooting attack. I guess that's possibly one of the things you try and do with the Confidant. I'm going to shoot somebody with my bolter, and then I'm going to activate somebody else, and then I'm going to give them Combined Arms, like, on the guy that I just shot. I can see that. Equipment. Right. Topographical chart 3 EP. During the mission sequence, if the friendly operative was selected for deployment, if this friendly operative was selected for deployment, after resolving your selected option in the scouting step, you can select and resolve an additional scouting option. It must be a different option to the original selection, and the initiative is still determined by original selection. Given that scouting just got buffed, this has just got buffed. So previously it was like, well, I really want to scouting things. Yeah, some of them are quite good. Now it's like, oh, well, Dash lets you fly, and Fortify lets you put a barricade on a building, and Flip and Order's still dead good. So maybe this is something that you're going to see taken more and more. Chronometer, once per battle you can re-roll the initiative. I think that's really good, especially when you can see, the nice thing about re-roll the initiative is that you can see if you are, it's not just a re-roll, because if you are on, like, oh, I win ties, I've rolled a 1, my opponent's rolled a 2, yeah, I'll re-roll that because I know that I've got I've only got a 1 in 6 chance of not bettering the result. So positive, right? I like those. I like the crack grenade, and honestly, 3 for the crack, 3 for the chronometer, 3 for the topographical chart. That is my note. I don't know much about this team, but that's presumably what I would go for. Frag grenades, people love them. I think they're overrated. Trench shovel. Having trench shovel here is just basically, if the table's been set up weirdly, then you can make bank with trench shovel, right? It's absolutely bananas. If you're playing in a meta where people are like, oh, it's fine to put a vantage point in a DZ if it's got no cover on top. First of all, are you playing post critical ops pack because they can just put cover on top of it? But secondly, you can dig a trench on top of a container. Don't ask me how you dig a trench on top of a container. It doesn't make any narrative sense, but the rules say that you can. And then your sniper can be invulnerable. But most of the time, I wouldn't rate, unless you've been given ball advantage in your deployment zone, most of the time I wouldn't rate the trench shovel. Hand axe, Rosary, once per battle in a resolve successful hit step. Of a shooting attack or combat, you can ignore the damage inflicted on the operative from one attack dice. Strong, maybe, like, if you don't fancy taking the chronometer, right? 3, 6, you could take a rosary and a frag grenade, right? With your topographical chart and your crack grenade. That's probably what I'd go for if you wanted to get the rosary in there. But I quite like the chronometer and I hate frag grenades, so. And then finally, the hot shock capacitor pack. Add 1 damage to aggressive las guns and las pistols. I don't think anything on this team really warrants that, to be fair. Like, and it's 2 EP, so no. The tactical objectives. Now, again, this is different now in this post-attack ops pack, critical ops, the card pack world, because you can only have one and you're picking it. So, boots on the ground seems totally pointless. You can reveal attack up at the end of any turning point. At the end of that turning point, if there are more friendly operatives than enemy operatives within red of your drop zone, and there are more friendly operatives than enemy operatives within red of your opponent's drop zone, you score 1 VP. Right? And if you achieve it again, you score 1 VP. Maybe if you're against a elite faction, then you fancy doing this, and you're going to hold half your guys back and send half your guys forwards. If you're against an elite faction, just take Glory and Death. Glory and Death seems pretty scoreable against elite factions. If more friendly operatives are incapacitated than enemy operatives, so against Space Marines, that's pretty likely. But you scored more victory points, which you need to be doing to win the game. It's win more. It's fair enough. It is win more, but it's not one you have to worry about. If you score in more, you get 2 VP. Yeah, and it's just 2 VP in a big line. And then you got Stand Fast, so maybe take this one if you're not playing against a Horde. At the end of any turning point, if friendly operatives control 2 or more objective markers and you control more than your opponent, you score a VP. Do it again, get another VP. Literally just win more. Right? Are you winning the primary? Have some secondary points. Fine. Like, if you think that there's secondaries that are more easy to score in the security deck, take them. Otherwise, take Stand Fast. Why not? You don't really lose anything. They seem scoreable, but by the same token, not really things you can decide to go out and score, right? They'll either happen or they won't, depending on how you're doing in the game more generally. And that's it. Final thoughts. So please let me know in the comments. I know that there will be some long-standing Vet Guard veterans, the old guard of the Vet Guard. Let me know in the comments, like, what really painfully obvious to you things that are totally run-of-the-mill and standard in your meta, where half of the people play Vet Guard every single day. Have I totally missed? Please enlighten me. And just generally, was this video useful? Like, I know these breakdowns are really, really well received when it's a new team that just came out. Do people actually care? To a certain extent, I can tell that from the views and things, but it would be useful to know in the comments, like, do people actually care about older teams? Like, I've done it now, it's done, it's up on the channel. I've got Commandos still to do. I guess I'll do Commandos anyway, because just to get the set done, because it is just Commandos left. So let me know. Plus, I'm running a bit low on ideas just at the minute for videos. Please do consider all the YouTube things. If you're not subscribed, then that really does help out. Subscriptions are slowed down because I've stopped kind of nagging about them. If you enjoy the content, if you've watched more than one video and you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. Even if you don't use your subscriptions as a way of finding content, you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for me. It helps the channel out. Press the thumbs up like button on the video every single time, every single video. Costs you nothing, helps the channel out. Write me a comment if you'd like. Again, helps the channel out. Channel membership. If you join the channel, that means that you're going to give me some money, and that obviously makes me pleased because that's helpful. You know, actually, really important point. I recently written off a camera. I've borrowed my wife's. Well, I've got other cameras, but I've borrowed. Let me know if the video quality is better or worse, or nobody cares because nobody looks at the video quality. But that will be useful. Join the Discord, and people have been picking that up and joining the Discord. The Discord, by the way, is free. You don't need to be a channel member to be on the Discord. There is a members only extra hidden special room on the Discord, but it's not like I'm not Chapter Master Valrak. It's not like you have to be a member to get on the Discord at all. That's not how it works. The Discord is for everybody, and then there's an extra little tiny piece on the end for members. And use my Element Games link. I had a great conversation with Zimbab the other day where he's like, "Oh, does the Element Games link for your affiliate thing ever change?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "So what you're saying is I should update the bookmark on my web browser so that I actually use it rather than just buying things off Element and then going, oh, I should have used Phil's link." Yes, please, Zim, could you go and do that now? That would help me out. All right, that's enough rambling and random e-becking at the end of the video. Thanks for that, everybody. I will hope to get another video out tomorrow. I always say this stuff. I don't know what it'll be about. It'll either be about Commandos or it'll be going back and looking at those Magic the Gathering decks, the 3 that I haven't already looked at. Or it will be reacting to something that has happened or Games Workshop has said, or maybe I'll have some thoughts in the shower, but you can't force these things. You can't force these things. All right, on that, have a great evening. I am on to upload the video and have an Ovaltine go to bed because I am living that rock and roll lifestyle. Cheery bye.